So we're talking about Breaking Bad, the third season.
Complete,
This time.
right?
Yeah.
There we go.
And it's also very good.
Yeah, it is pretty good. I don't know if we've seen a bummer season ever. Some seasons a bit better than others.
Yeah. It's not as good
Always
as the
a big
second.
story. Awesome. I mean,
In my opinion.
when did he kind
Just
of?
gotta move this
When
up
did
on
his
my knees.
wife
My knees
desert
are
him?
really
Was that in the second season? Something like that. That was a key event for
Well,
him.
this he starts working with Gus. In this season.
Okay. Do you see Gus as a weakness, or
No, Gus is an interesting character.
that's what I thought?
Yeah. And Gale was an interesting character.
I've seen that guy somewhere else. More importantly, heard his voice because he looks a bit different from the way he looked. I didn't recognize him at first. I recognized the voice. Pretty good actor, yeah. Thought he was well cast in the role he was playing.
So we see more of Jesse developing in this, and the relationship between. Really, it's. I mean, I think Walt sees Jesse as a sort of surrogate son in a way, and I mean, Walt's a teacher, Jesse was a student, and so they have this relationship, right? And it's difficult for other characters to see why are you carrying Jesse along through this whole thing, right?
Difficult for members of the audience, I think.
Yeah.
For both of us.
Yeah. But it's I mean, you're a teacher sort of type personality.
Well, that's the way you classify me more than anything else. And I accept that classification.
Yes.
Um,
And I enjoy being a student. I don't think Jesse does, but Walt seems to enjoy the challenge.
Big challenge.
And Jesse is learning as the seasons go on.
He's a learner. So, you like learning, but you also learn.
Yes.
There's some people
Jesse
who
does
learn,
not like learning.
and they'll learn
And he
over
is,
and over
it's
again.
very difficult for him to learn. It's Walt is teaching him. Jesse will pick some things up, like he knows how to cook now and stuff like that, right? So he does learn, but it's difficult for Walt to teach him sometimes. But
Well,
anyway, we get to see in the next season. You really get to see
fourth season.
Jesse and the problem. Yeah, in the fourth, you get to see. But in this season, this is where the end of the season, Jesse sort of falls apart, and you see that Jesse deep down, he has a good heart. Like he was wanting to sell crystal meth. He wanted to get a woman hooked on crystal meth, but he was dating her. As soon as he saw she had a kid, he did not want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, didn't want her to do drugs.
Well, it's good enough. I mean, there are people who go a lot better parts than that.
Well, he's still young, and like
You
I've
got a
said,
point there. How old would you say?
after-
About 20 or something?
yeah, he's not supposed to be that old. And so people are more aggressive until they get to age 25.
Well,
And then if they're an aggressive type, well, they're not going to change
Probably
to
not.
become gentle after age 25.
probably
So,
not. Some
but
people, if
passive
anything, get
people
worse.
do. So, I wanted to talk a little more about the things that we've been listening to on the CBC. And one thing...
Priceless stuff.
Yes. One thing that had bothered me was the parenting thing. Two women talking about being a mother and how it wasn't a job.
Was
And
this a
it-
host and a guest, or was it two
It
guests?
was two guests.
That's
I'm
what I
not
thought.
sure.
Okay.
But they were definitely two yellows. They were two aggressive types, and they did not understand that, because to them, parenting's not a job. because aggressive types don't parent properly.
So
and
it would
their
appear.
children do not end up becoming proper
Citizens of
citizens of the world.
Mhm.
And it's sad. Because parenting should be, it shouldn't feel like a job. It shouldn't feel like, it shouldn't be something that, oh, well, I don't, something that a parent doesn't want to do.
Well,
I
I'm
mean,
not
you
going to
should-
work today. That
Exactly,
kind of
yeah. It's 24 hour a day and 7 days.
24/7.
Yeah, and
52.
it's more than a job, and it has to be that if you want to raise decent children.
If you want to do the job.
I mean, my parents worked very hard to raise my sister and I appreciate it. I see what they did, and it's not only them. My grandparents were incredible for us. And when they say it takes a village to raise a child, it doesn't mean that people should expect that the village is going to raise their children for them. That is unacceptable. But that seems to be the mindset of aggressive types. So, one of the women on the CBC was
This
saying...
was yesterday.
This was yesterday. It might have been the day before, I can't remember.
Yeah.
The days kind of blur, especially with the heat.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to think properly. Smoothie helps. But,
Yeah.
what was I going to say? See, this is tough. I don't have an air-conditioned studio to work out of.
It takes a village to raise
Yeah.
a child.
But really, I mean, that's like the tribe. That's your family that raises the child. You care about your family, and you care about raising productive members of your family so that your society, your family, your tribe is productive and gets along well. Or else you end up like the Yanomamo or something.
At least reports of them.
Anyway. But, no. The one woman, what was she saying? She was talking about how wealthy people, the job, about there are aspects like laundry or diapers, that's work, and nobody wants to do that. But, thing is, she said that wealthy people would hire out for that. They'd try to hire out for that, those, as many of the work parts of parenting as they could. And that's not the case. That's not true. And not everybody does that. My parents, there was always somebody at home raising us. Always. So not everybody chooses to go out and work, and whether you're wealthy or not. I mean, they could have made double the income and outsourced the child care to... I mean, a lot of people use the public school system as child care, And then they've recently, recently, since the 70s or whatever, it's been common for women to work outside the home. So society says, oh, we can make even more tax-paying citizens and productive citizens in their mind by putting women into the workforce, and just then send the kids, diapers and all, to daycare. And so the children are being cared for even less because
How many women or men or people are required for each person in a usual daycare center? For each
too
kid?
many, and they can't possibly care
Too many
enough.
kids, not...
I mean, those aren't their children. So how much effort would they put into actually raising them properly? You know,
Even then, if they
they're
cared,
making sure
they'd
they're
be
safe.
getting ready for a nervous breakdown.
Sure,
Like, how many
they can't possibly care
people
that
did we
much, or they
see
would.
with it was maybe a dozen kids, walking a dozen kids, 2 people.
2 people. Wow.
It's wow.
And
That's
they
like
were
a
managing
nuclear
to-
family with 12 kids. How are you going to pay proper attention to each
Mhm.
individual?
Mhm.
Just keeping them safe, much less helping
Sure.
them learn, and just making sure that they're not getting beaten up by their kids or whatever.
But in this season of Breaking Bad, Walt's wife has went back to work, and she's having
Right
an
after
affair,
having-
yeah, and so
Is it with her boss or something like that?
yeah,
What's the name of that guy? I forget. Kind of-
Ted.
Ted. And he's not a very attractive individual. He's cheating on his.
Oh, I don't
Does
know.
he have a
no,
wife?
She's
But-
separated from him.
But
There's
no, what I
something-
was saying, he's cheating on the accounts.
Oh yes, yeah,
So-
he is doing that.
That doesn't seem to bother her.
Anyway,
I don't think he has like Walt started a criminal activity to basically save his life.
and I don't, some like the women on the CBC, they were saying, one of the women was saying, I want to have it all. I want to have the rewarding career and a child and this and that. Black cap chickadee right behind you.
Yeah.
Little fella.
I can't
They're
see
my
him.
favorite
It'll
birds.
break my back.
Is
Is that him making the noise?
It
there?
is.
That's a very nice noise.
I know.
There must be a lot of them around.
He's singing at you.
Yeah, I
Or
know.
me.
He's wanting
I
some
like
food.
to think.
Of course, he's saying you're the one who makes the food.
I haven't been putting food out for him. So
I know the
The
cats
cats
will
are
get him.
going to get because they ate my sparrow.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the thing is, if you're going into parenting and you're saying, I want to have it all, I want to have a child. Well, you know what? It was very, very hard for me not to think that way the last few years, because I really, really wanted to have a child. I wanted to have it all. I'd planned for a long time to be the perfect parent. I planned to find the other perfect parent and raise a child to the best of our abilities. So it was very hard for me not to do that. And I know it can be difficult for people to choose not to have a child if they want to have it all. But the thing is I had planned to have a child while not working. So I had worked so that I could have a child and not work later on. And I don't think enough people do that. I think too many people think, well, I want to have a job, I want to have a child, and somebody else will care for my child for me while I'm working. But then how can you expect your child to be raised properly that way? You shouldn't have a child if you're going into it thinking, I want. No, it's about giving. When you're raising a child, it's about you giving, pouring all that energy into a child. It's not about you taking anything. So if you're going into it thinking, I want, that is the wrong mindset, and you should not be having a child. Plain and simple. It's about the child's welfare. You're giving, you're not taking. That's what parenting is about. And aggressive people do not understand that. And too many people are raised aggressive because they're either from parents who have outsourced parenting to other people who aren't doing it properly because, they're just doing it for a paycheck or whatever. These aren't their children. And they don't have them all the time, and there isn't this. So the child has, if they're from that if they're from the wealthier parents that have outsourced parenting, whatever functions of parenting, then those kids grow up thinking, oh, well, I can exploit other people because that's what is done. So they end up aggressive. And if they're from the exploited, if they're children of the exploited parent, well, they're not getting all the attention they need because their parent is off trying to do the parenting functions for somebody else's kid. And so they're not getting enough attention. They end up aggressive, and they see that, oh, this is what's done. I can exploit other people to care for my children or to care for me in some way, or I can be exploited. So this is the problem with society. This is how aggressive people are produced, because through exploitation, either they see it or they see it, their parents do exploiting other people, and so they learn to exploit other people, or they see that their parents are being exploited and they think, good, I don't want to be the one being exploited, so I better exploit other people. So either way, you end up with aggressive kids. And not everybody ends up aggressive through that crapshoot of childhood, but
Basically neglect.
neglect, yeah,
But enough to that it's a problem.
that it's a problem. So plan first, and try not to be too bitter when it doesn't work out. But do you have anything else to talk about about the CBC? Anything?
I don't think we heard much. Well, we were hearing about
I
weed.
didn't hear much today. Yeah.
The coverage should be about COVID.
It should be.
Should be about Donald Trump making threats of a coup, basically. I mean, what's more important than that? I mean, if he carries through with even a portion of what he's talking about, I think there'd be something like a civil war in the United States.